Hi everyone, McBeard here, back with another deck guide video. I've been playing some monsters lately, and monsters were very powerful in the previous patch, and we saw a lot of Dagon players. But lately, I think that monsters have been, they've had a little bit of reduction in popularity, but I think it is more so that they're underrepresented than they are actually less powerful. I think that there's a lot of great variations for monsters. Eridan has a really good one that I really like, but the one I want to talk to you about right now is Unseen Elder. This is a great consume list that I have been having a great time with. It is a lot of fun. I believe the blueprint here is Life Coach had a 40 card consume deck. I tried it out just to see, you know, how that felt, what the story was there. It turns out it was actually pretty good, and I think it's since been refined. I made a few changes myself. Very few changes, so I would like to credit the idea. I believe this idea came from Life Coach, but I have been playing this version of Consume Monsters, which is a 35 card deck that really focuses on big turns, being able to keep up with almost every other deck out there, and have really strong closers. So it's really just every round, short or long, you have ways of getting ahead, really powerful turns, and great setup plays as well when you already are ahead. So let's take a look at this deck, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, a little all-you-can-eat buffet here. Consume Monsters. So this is a 35 card deck, and you'll notice that there are absolutely no special cards in this deck. It is all units. So let's talk about the choice here. We'll start with the bronzes. I'll start off with the Neckers. Now these are late game cards. Like I said, the general idea of this deck is by forcing your opponent to react to huge turns, being able to disrupt their strategies, ultimately securing carryover and securing setup that allows you to really push ahead. And you know, big turns that are based around Ericus Behemoth, Crones. Your gold cards are all really strong plays as well. And each of these cards kind of has a home, and they all work together. Really, it's hard to cut any cards from this deck, which is really fun. I think that there was a world where 25 cards was the end of the discussion. These days, there are some decks, it's mostly Northern Realms. Scoia'tael can get away with some as well. But I think that this deck is actually very legit at 35 cards. So Neckers are more of the late game card. Because you're not running Necker Warriors to create additional Neckers, you only really get the 3 Neckers. So what you want to do is set these guys up around round 2, regardless of you winning or losing or where you are in the round. You want to be able to set these up so they function as carryover, as Neckers are one of the few cards that still have carryover that is really threatening. As you know, Resilience got changed. Buffs on resilient units do not carry over to the next round. However, with Neckers, since they aren't really carrying over, they're replacing themselves, they are as strong as they were before. So they're really great. Setting them up in round 2 allows you to have carryover in round 3, usually when I like to play them. But if you happen to draw them in round 3, if you have any consume cards, you can replace them, and you can get basically full value for all 3 Neckers in a single round. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. One of the ways you can do that is the Vran Warrior, a classic staple of consume. This card is always able to do work for you. There's a lot of ways that this card can do work for you. Not just because when you have Neckers in your deck, you can start to cycle through them by having the Vran start eating, but setting up your Vrans early in earlier rounds or early in a long round, you will get multiple consume effects, and there's really no limit except for the length of the round, how many times this card can consume. So you can get a lot of extra value on your Neckers with the Vran Warrior. The Vran Warrior works very well with the Solano Harpy, as the Harpy eggs are, you know, this card is not quite the powerhouse it used to be as far as carryover is concerned. It's a little easier to deal with, but the Solano Harpy still provides eggs that are great for the Vran all-you-can-eat omelet buffet. In addition to Unseen Elder also taking advantage of these cards, really the story with Vran and Unseen Elder is that it is a lot of procs to buff these little guys here. So creating the eggs with the Solano Harpy, that's kind of the relationship that it has with the Vran Warrior. The Ekamara also functioning as carryover from round on round. 6 strength carryover is fine these days since carryover has been really kind of condensed, but it also counts as a consume effect to continue your boosts here. And it also gets value off of the eggs. And finally, with the consume effects of the Vrans, of the Ekamara, and of other consume cards in this deck, you get extra use out of the Ericus Behemoth, which you would likely set up in round 1. You don't really need, you really just want to draw 1 or 2 of these, but it's great when you can get them really rolling. The cool thing about this deck is because there's so many cards in it, every game you take, every game takes you on like a different journey of how you're really going to secure all the value you can. But because, you know, just as usual, the Ericus Behemoth, when it spawns the Ericus Hatchling, it does still continue to play the rest of the Ericus from your deck. So these guys are still functioning as the extra push that you need to really surge ahead and around, usually round 1. Placing these guys down and triggering consume effect really gets you ahead in round 1. But let's talk about some of these other cards. There's some newer cards here. Drowners aren't new. This is really just, these cards are just powerhouse cards. They're 9 if there's no weather on the board, and they're 11 if there is. And they also disrupt a lot of adjacency synergy cards like Great Swords, Knight Elects, anything else that really kind of needs to be next to something. You can disrupt rows where you think somebody's going to maybe place a Commander's Horn or a Thunderbolt Potion, move things around. The damage is an extra treat as well, and you will maybe be able to get a weather effect because of Woodland Spirit. So these cards are just really strong cards. But let's talk about the Harpies. These cards are fantastic. When I first saw the tooltip for this card, I thought, what? But it started to make sense when I started to see the beast tags that were applied. So first of all, the Seleno Harpy is a beast, and the Harpies that hatch from the eggs are also beasts. If all eggs get hatched when you play Seleno Harpies, each Seleno Harpy will also spawn a Harpy. The Harpy comes out, value of 4, 3 plus the ping of damage on the board, and it thins your deck as well. It allows extra value to the cards that you play. You just have to keep track of it. Every 3 beasts, a Harpy comes out. It's actually a really cool mechanic. In that they're always kind of circling around looking for a meal, perhaps feeding on the beasts. I do like it a lot, but it functions it's not really dissimilar to the way Roach is very good, in that Roach adds extra value to the gold cards you play. Harpies add extra value to the beast cards you play. So imagine having 4 Roaches in your deck. Sometimes it really does feel like that. Roach, of course, is in this deck because it is a big deck, so having cards that thin are favorable, but also making the swing cards even better, your gold cards generally, is really, really good, because sometimes you just need that little extra edge to stay ahead in a situation where you want to pass in a favorable position or combat your opponent's big tempo plays as well. Finally, as far as the bronzes are concerned, we have a single Foglet, and this will make more sense when I look at the Woodland Spirit. But the way Foglets work right now, Foglets only ever come out 1 at a time. You only need 1 Foglet because you only have 1 Fog in Woodland Spirit. So we talked about Roach. Katakan, generally, very good card in that it's usually a power play when you play it. It's graveyard hate. So with Northern Realms, it's very worthwhile to play Katakan if you have a chance to kind of snipe Stennis or Trollolo out of the graveyard. Or perhaps a giant greatsword skirmisher in a Skellige matchup. Anything you don't want to come out of the graveyard again, get rid of it with Katakan. You benefit from the boost. And it's a consume effect as well, so it will proc stuff like Ericus Behemoth, and it will boost Neckers. So it's, you know, it's a fantastic card always. It's always been a very, very strong card. And, you know, it's one of the few cards that hasn't really changed. It hasn't had to change. So let's talk about, and the Crones, of course. Tempo play. Usually played in round 1. Usually I like to play the Crones in round 1 so I can do a little bit more setup and not fall behind. 20 points in 3 silver cards. You don't really care what happens to them after. You don't need them to stick around, and you definitely don't want to draw them in future rounds. So the name of the game is trying to get as many cards out of your deck as possible as early as possible. So playing the Crones early is fine. If you happen to draw them late, even better. It works as a power play in later rounds as well. But generally I like it for the early round tempo. Now the gold card. So generally, Gels is used to secure a gold card. As this is a larger deck, the bronze density is higher, so making sure that you can secure gold and silver cards is great. So Gels is automatically great for that. Plus, in a lot of situations, you know exactly what he's going to pull for you. One of the reasons I love running Gels and Crones is that the Crones basically remove the silver, like most of the silvers from the deck, so it makes it a little bit more reliable what you're going to get from Gels. Karen is a fantastic card. It's a huge swing card in that when you grab something at 6, it's like a 12-point swing plus the 4 you get from Karen on top of that, 16 points, and you can remove threatening cards like Knight Elect, for example. There are a lot, War Longships, not really seen that often these days, but there are cards at 6 and lower that you get. You get the benefit of just basically taking them off your opponent's board, benefiting from that strength. Very versatile card, very strong in an early round, especially when it comes with Roach. I love this card right now. I think it's really awesome that they allow the Karen to come out and actually consume from your opponent's board. It does count as a consume trigger as well. The Succubus, fantastic card late in the game. Be careful in the Northern Realms matchup. Radovid can lock and destroy this, and a lot of things can remove it. It is only 4 strength, and golds are no longer immune. But if you are convinced your opponent has no answer for it, or if you're just kind of stuck with it, playing it 2 cards down, 2 cards left in round 3, go for that Hail Mary. You're going to be able to grab something. The Drowners will help you secure a unit as well if you have any sort of combating on where the units are being moved around. So Drowners will help you there. But the swing that you get from this card, first of all, she was essentially buffed by 9 points. She used to be a disloyal 5 strength unit. So now she's 4 strength on your side of the board. 2 turns later, you pull the unit over, and that swing is usually really strong. And since she's not a negative play, you just go ahead and play it. You're happy to play at any time. She is very vulnerable, but she has to be, or else this card would be too strong. So I think that this card in round 3 really can seal the deal, and there are a lot of huge units that you can grab right now. Finally, the Woodland Spirit. This card is so good right now, and especially in this deck. So you start off with Woodland Spirit. It's a 5-point card. Summons 3 wolves. Now it's an 8-point card, but that's 3 beasts. So it's also summoning a Harpy if there's one left in your deck. So we have another 4. It's spawning Fog on the board, which might get you 2 points of damage going over into your opponent's turn. So you have another 2 points. Plus, Roach can be coming out as well. Plus, the Foglet can be coming out as well. If all of those things go your way, in that you actually open the round with Woodland Spirit, it is a 22-point swing, and it creates a bunch of bodies for the Ekamars to eat, for the Vrans to snack on. This card is so good in this deck. It is a pleasure to play this card every single time. I don't think it's overpowered, but it walks the line. But you really do have to manufacture all of these parts into this deck for it to really shine. Playing Harpies, playing Roach, playing the Foglet as well. So I've always loved this card, but I honestly feel like Woodland Spirit is better than ever right now. The last thing is an addition that I personally made. Like I said, this deck is largely a blueprint that I have seen from Life Coach. However, he previously ran the card Shadow, which pulls a Death Wish unit from your deck. That unit being the Neckers. They are the only ones. I found that card, I didn't get a lot of use out of that card. I almost always drew these guys. And when I ended up playing the Shadow, like I would sometimes just draw the Shadow, either have nothing to play or I'd already have a Necker in my hand. And I just really felt like kind of over like the 10, 15 games that I've played with this deck, I barely ever felt like the Shadow is really doing a lot for me. However, having a Weather Clear or the Abaya, I say Water Hag, her name is Abaya now. Having the Torrential Rain, the Torrential Rain is probably the least likely thing that you'll play. The Clear Skies will save you in a situation where you are just getting weathered and it's really hard to deal with. But the Ericus Venom makes it so this card is going to always give you a lot of great value. No longer a Lacerate, but still a 15-point card. And, you'll take that, I think. In a bad situation, you'll take that. So I think Abaya is fantastic as well. This deck as a whole, the sum of its parts is really strong. I honestly feel like I lost more games due to poor decision making than the fact that I was just beat. Sometimes you'll play a deck and you'll just have a bad matchup and you're like, I just got beat. Maybe the coin flip didn't go my way or my opponent just drew very well. But I have had games where I've drawn poorly, or I've had games where my opponent was really pushing me around for the whole game and I still pull out a victory. If you make the right decisions, this deck will be very kind to you. And let's jump into a game. I'm actually really excited to record this for you. A YouTube exclusive as well. This one's just for you, YouTube family. Let's jump into a game. Hope we get a win. Let's check it out. Monsters on monsters violence here. We're going to take on Dagon. Dagon's got some interesting decks right now. I think I like our version a little bit more. Let's hope for some good draws here. We do have the Foglet in hand, but we have Woodland Spirit, so we definitely get rid of the Foglet. Always get rid of the Foglet. And the Harpy, really. And the Ericus is likely how it's going to be here. We have no Ericus Behemoth in hand, but let's see how this goes. Blacklist the ones you have 3 of before you take care of the Foglet. Vran. Behemoth. No Crones, but that's better, actually. I'd rather just draw them later. I think the best thing is probably to set up the Behemoth here. We're probably going to follow up with Woodland Spirit once he shows what kind of deck he's playing here. We'll probably end up just playing... He's just going to go ahead and just play the Fog right on top of the Behemoth. So we're going to play our Fog right on top of Dagon. And there's the masterpiece that is Woodland Spirit. Great tempo. And now we have a lot of things for Vran to eat. So we did have to go first, so we won't get as much opportunity to really take advantage of it. With 2 Drowners in the hand, we hopefully will be able to take as much advantage as we possibly can. We'll start 1 Vran up here. This gets all the Ericus out of the deck. So you're starting to see how these combos come together here, how you end up, you know, when you get the pieces working in your favor, you can get some really huge swings. Sometimes the draws aren't great. 35 cards actually makes the draws likely better than you might imagine, but it also kind of blocks out some of the things you might want to draw. Like, you might want to draw your Vrans. You have 3 of them. Normally in a 25 card deck, you'd likely draw them, but sometimes that doesn't always happen. But we do have a little bit of everything here. We do have a lot of that we can play with. We have our own Ekamara, and we have our own Harpies. I think this is a pretty easy decision for me. I want to pull the Ekamara into the Fog. But I think I want to establish some more activity with the Vran Warriors here. Just before this thing dies. Because it is going to die next turn, so... Just a little something extra here. The Drowner is excellent. The Drowner will be able to help us with the Ekamara, make his carryover worse. See, his deck is actually very similar to ours. It looks like it's going to be Consume versus Consume, us with Elder and him with Dagon. Dagon is a fine leader for this. Let's go ahead and just do this play here. And we can also drag the Vran down as well. So Vran doesn't have anything else to eat. Although I would like the Fog to just kill the Ekamara. Maybe pull the Vran upwards, but that would involve us placing something into the Fog, which we don't really want to do. Frightener, very interesting. I think we pass here. I think we are safe to pass here. We're going to find out very quickly if that's true or not, but 35 points feels pretty safe. We are down a card right now. We are very much ahead. The Fog attrition isn't so terrible for us, but we also have carryover we can establish, so I wonder. We could pass, or we could play the Ekamara. I think the Ekamara is fine to play in round 2, along with the Necker. So we're going to actually pass. I think we're just going to pass. That actually could be the decision that makes or breaks this game. But I have made that decision, and we're going to see how it goes. 37 points is really hard to do, even in 2 cards. So we may end up winning this and having all the time in the world to set up round 2. It looks like he's playing after all. He's going to play his carryover cards. Hailstorm. Very strong card. You'll see it in a lot of decks, but he's now going down a significant amount of cards. We made a great pass, as you can see here. Our opponent did finish in the leaderboard at the end of the season here, so this is a great player. So he has a plan. He has a plan here. He has spent some high commitment cards, though, especially with Hailstorm. Hailstorm is a huge commitment card. We will still have to beat this here. Going to go for that Erika's Behemoth for the 11 strength. He's going to get there. He went down a lot of cards, though. But here's the thing, and I think this is where my opponent is coming from. He's going to probably pass on us right away. We're going to have to get over his carryover here, which we have none of. If we draw the Crones here with this mulligan, which we did, we're very happy about that. We needed that very badly. He's going to probably pass on us and the Crones. No, he's not. He's going to play. It's actually better that he's playing, though, because it actually allows us to set up carryover. Because we have Ekamara in our hand, it is going to ultimately be fine with the Necker, but the fact that we actually... So he's down a lot of cards. So the fact that Crones can take it for us, we're going to actually limp into this round, I think. So the first thing we're going to do is play the Harpies. Because with the Crones, that is enough. As long as we play that to a situation where we're only down by 19 or less, the Crones will be able to take the round for us. We're going to limp in with the Harpies. It's barely limping in, though, because of that extra Harpy proc. Very nice. He's just going to go for it. I wonder what he's looking at right now. He got one of the Neckers, so we only have one additional Necker. So that's just good to know. So that means that we're probably free to play one of these Ekamara, and it's just fine. Especially considering we get the extra boost from the egg. And we always want to stay 19 or less, right? So that's fine. If we can do this without the Crones, that would be fine too. But I don't think we're going to be in that position unless he's just going to push all the way. $20 points. So we'll play these Harpies. Get a little bit of extra boost as the Harpies continue to come out as we continue to place beasts. That's all of the Harpies out of the deck as well. He's running out of cards, so I'm starting to really favor our position here. Unseen Elder onto 3 eggs is in pretty good play. Maybe we actually end up holding on to the Crones until the end here. A slightly risky mulligan. No Neckers left, so he has Neckers in his hand? Is that what's happening here? We're going to hold on to that last Ekamara, though. We're going to hold on to that Ekamara because it's actually going to proc the Necker in round 3. I'm going to go ahead and play the Elder now. He already played Hailstorm, so I think that we're in a fine spot. He could have Geralt Igni, which would be pretty unfortunate, but still we'd be in a position where we could still take it. With the Crones, as that'll only take out, it'll only be a 24 point.
I shall savor your death.
This is actually also fine because Drowner can save us. The Ekamara also saves us. By playing the Ekamara, we actually maybe risk. I think, okay, so I think we can do this. We can do this in a bunch of different ways. If we play the Ekamara, we can just simply consume Elder, move him onto a different row. We can also play Drowner to move Elder to a different row. That's probably the best thing. That's because we want to use the Ekamara on the Necker, and also we definitely don't want to play the Crones. So the point swing here is probably... We will have to play one more card, though, I think. Unless he just passes. Unless he just passes because of this. And if he has a Drowner of his own, at least we'll be able to play Ekamara to get out. But the ideal situation is that he passes here. A-okay with me. I don't think Succubus is broken in that she picks after the pass anymore. I certainly hope not. She used to. She's fixed. She doesn't do that anymore. I did like the Succubus Bamboozle in the last patch, but we can't do that anymore. But that's good, because that just saved our lives. So we get rid of that crone, for sure. The most important reason why, we can't complete the artwork if she's in our hand like that. Succubus, excellent. We are all but assured victory here. Let's go ahead and play the Necker first. Since we already saw stuff like marigolds, I think it's actually fine. We'll just play the Ekamara now. Pretty massive. Concede may just be coming right now. Manticore isn't going to be enough. We'll go ahead and steal that with the Succubus. And if this ends up playing out, which I don't think it will, I think we got him. We'll polish it off with the Crones here. Our opponent is gracious, allowing us to play out our strategy here. And that's the game. Consume versus Consume. Interesting matchup that we ended up getting, but I really liked it. Our opponent was not wrong to do what he did to go down in cards because carryover is very strong in Gwent. However, we were able to navigate that, navigate Succubus, which is a deadly card, but one of the biggest counters to Succubus is being able to move your own units, not just move the Succubus as well. So good game to him. Hope you enjoyed that. I think it's actually great that we had that mirror, because that mirror showed it showed on the other side how the cards can work for a Dagon leader in a similar type of match. So, you know, you got to see the full spectrum of Consume. You can see, guys, I'm still climbing up there. I'll get there. It's early in the season. I'm actually pretty happy where we are. We only started this week. So hope you enjoyed the video, folks. Take care. See you next time.